Yours is quite handsome. You should cherish it. A mortal has but one, although he wears many. Brave or bare, pale or plain, little is said, but in time all is written, in forests of grey or in barren canyons of earth. And when the night draws its curtains on twin suns, all that is left is nothing. All that was is hollow. Tell me, traveler, of what do I speak? No, what I speak of is a mask, but it is no piece of clothing.
It's kind of dark.
I was referring to the face, for sculpting it is my profession, my trade. For that reason I followed the hollow-faced men of Nohotogra to the ends of Temrail and back again. For that purpose I sojourned with the witches of Devil Rock, to know the ancient magic that can transform the mortal body and wake the dead. Yet, I digress, for what you require first is a name. I am Yethrail, a sculptor of the dead. I am returning to Morrowind from a 50-year pilgrimage across the deserts of Valakir. I spent 40 years in the service of the Hollow Faces, learning the bending of bone and the dance of flesh. I spent another decade studying under the ancient covens of Devil Rock to study the art of bestial transformation. When I finished my training, it occurred to me that those who ply their trade in deceit could use my services. So I decided to return to Morrowind. Yet the Moric tongue is no more, and the guilds are as brittle as the undead. Skin changers, flesh dancers, the tribe of the wandering faces. The hollow-faced men of Nohotogra go by many names. Like the chirurgeons of Cloudrest and the slave sculptors of Aliad lore, they are masters of the art of molding flesh. Yes, as their existence is as much folklore as their abilities, I trekked to Hammerfell, unsure if my steps were made in vain. Must we prattle on about the particulars? I would much rather spend time in the arms of a young and handsome adventurer. But if you must know, they are assassins, priests. Like followers of Sithis, the Hollows walk the path of the living void. The lifeblood of their magic comes from their tribal gods, to whom they pay tribute at the Shade Temple strewn across the Alekir. They walk this long pilgrimage. The sandstorms cut away at their flesh, shaping their countenance, eroding flesh and bone. It is true in Hammerfell sand plays an important role in the shaping of all things. It is sand that allows the saw to cut and shape blocks of stone. Sand that is glazed on the bone cutter's knife as he reshapes your skull. And that is the answer to your query. It is not flesh that makes a face. It is cartilage and bone. Shape that, and the flesh will form around it. A bed of sand may be as soft as a cloud, but individually each grain is extremely coarse. The ancient stonecutters would lay out a line of sand over a block of granite, then run a saw over that line. It is not the same type of saw we use to cut wood. The saw has no edge. It is there simply to apply pressure. The sand serves as its teeth. The sand scalpels of the hollow-faced men are made by binding grains of sand to a small, edgeless knife. The end product is a blade that can shape and cut bone as easily as a man shaves his beard. You have a beautiful face, and if I were still an apprentice, one that I would have very much liked to sculpt. Alas, Now that I have evolved as a sculptor, my spells and my scalpel are only for the dead. Restoration. I'm sure you have noticed, but healing potions, spells, and incantations do not repair the dead. Restoring dead flesh, even if it were as pristine as yours, is inconceivable without the knowledge of darker arts. I can shape the skull, mold the cartilage, and bind dyes to their pupils to give their eyes luster. Yet, incisions must be made, and incisions can leave scars. For 7 days and 7 nights, I marched across the dunes of Alikir. I collapsed on a nameless dune. What is it? For 7 days and 7 nights, I marched across the dunes of Alikir. Don't be... For 7 days and 7 nights, I marched across the dunes of Alikir. The next morning, I woke up and was startled to find myself surrounded by 3 new guides, each bearing no similarity to the last. It is well known that the Aliads kept entire stables full of slaves, relying on their labor to build their shrines and monuments. Back then, slaves were valuable commodities. Stronger specimens, like yourself for instance, would be highly valued on the market. Of course, it is believed this led to underground operations, where the bodies of weaker slaves would be modified to appear robust. Isn't it obvious? How can I be a sculptor of the dead without dead people to sculpt? I appreciate your willingness to help. Yes, you may be able to assist me. I am not in need of a fresh corpse, but an old one. You see, upon entering Skyrim, my carriage was sacked by a group of bandits, and I was relieved of some personal effects. Foremost among them was a male hip bone widened to resemble a female's, crafted by a body sculptor. One of my former masters kept it as a souvenir, an oddity one puts on a desk to start a conversation. However, as a young apprentice bored with magic, it became the very catalyst for my life's pursuit. As my skill improved, I gravitated toward the more difficult arts, the more delicate flesh, none more so than the faces of the undead. Yet it all began with that single sculpted hip bone, one given to me as a parting gift when I left for Hammerfell. As the bandits unloaded my belongings, I overheard one of them discussing his future plans. Something about setting up camp overlooking a sleeping giant. His words only confused me, but perhaps you will be able to make sense of it. Excellent. I look forward to having my items returned to me. Some are dear to me for sentimental reasons. Others are vital for resuming my practice. And I assure you, if you do this for me, you will be handsomely rewarded. A coven native to the coast, a league or two north of the Dragontail Mountains. In truth, I would have followed any coven, but after my time in the desert, I longed to see the ocean. Witchcraft naturally aligns with my interests. The ability to transform the body, to lengthen bones and expand the heart is an important skill. It is said the Glenmoral witches once took flight as ravens, and their spells could cure lycanthropy. There was still much I had wished to learn from the beldam of the coven, but such knowledge was only available to the most devoted of supplicants. Yes, that would preclude you from joining their ranks, although I will certainly not hold it against you. The High Elves have long been obsessed with their appearance, namely maintaining a similarity to their ancestral Aldmer. In time, the practice extended to other, more practical uses. Highborn often have their faces chiseled to maintain the appearance of youth. Thieves, criminals, and necromancers will pay a large sum to change their identity. The chirurgeons of Cloudrest accommodate them all.